There I am, I think. Okay. So, can you see?
I don't see you yet, right? I'm not supposed to see you yet.
Yeah. Well, yes, I think so. Oh my goodness. Well, if everybody is there and listening, I'm here with Christine, which is Al's sister, and welcome. Al's busy today, so we've got Christine. Can you see me yet or not? Wait a minute. Let me see. Can you see me, Christina?
No, I cannot see you yet.
Try now.
Let's see. Let me try now. Hold on. Oh. Something's happening. Let's see. Yep. I'll have to see the ad first. Hold on. I think you're going to pop up in a minute. Yep. I
got you. Yay. All right. So I have no idea if we've got anybody waiting for us or if I'm just doing this for my own self. But anyway, we're going to have fun. Today on the sofa, I simply have my darling boy who's sound asleep. This is my puppy boy, not my grandson. If only I could have my grandson with me, but no. So we have Kachura with us on the sofa. As always, we begin by saying good morning, hello to my spirit guide Gregel, who is sitting to my right side. I'm sorry if the camera is bobbling about, but I'm just getting comfortable and I'm getting into position. In fact, I think I'm in the wrong position while I think about it. Hold on 1 second while I jiggle about a bit more. This is a live show, as you can see. I'm comfortable now. That works for me. All right. So we have Kachura on the sofa. We have Gregel, who is standing to my right side as always. He's laughing at me because this morning has been a bit of a hectic morning trying to sort all of this out so that we could do this show today. We have Christina. Say good morning, Christina.
Good morning, everyone. How are you?
Well, we hope they're good. We hope they're excited. Christina is Al's sister, and she's great. And Al couldn't make it this morning, so we're doing this on the phone with Christina. We hope this is going to work. Christina's going to be asking the questions this morning. We're going to do the Q&A. Before we start on that, though, I just would like to remind everyone, because we have had people saying, and what is the competition again? So I'm going to describe it again to you. We have a competition, and the competition is called the 3 chairs. You sit in the chair, and not necessarily literally, but you sit in the chair and you think of the saddest and the most painful story that you possibly can. It has to be a story about you, something that you experienced, and you tell that story. You doesn't have to be a great long diatribe. It just, 3 paragraphs is fine, but you tell the story, and you try, if you can, in that those amount of words, you try, if you can, to describe the pain and the hurt of your own personal story. Once you've done that, then you sit in the second chair, again, not literally, but you can if it helps you, and you tell a story which is a funny story. It's going to be a story that is, as much lighthearted as you can make it. It's going to have some funny bits to it, some funny parts to it. It has to make me smile at least. Not necessarily laugh out loud, but it has to make me smile at least. The trick is that it has to be exactly the same story as the story you just told in the sad chair. So you're looking at the sad story, but now you're looking at it from a different perspective. You're widening your perspective and you're telling the story and you're making me smile, because no matter how sad a story is, no matter how difficult it is, there's always something within every story that can make us smile a little bit or even make us laugh. Even if we're only laughing at our own selves, and so on, or whatever it is, I want you to look at the story from a different perspective, from the perspective of something that is good and positive. Then we sit in the third chair, and the third chair is the inspirational chair. And yes, you've guessed it, the story has to be exactly the same. But now it has made us sad. It has made us, feel very sad. It has made us smile at the very least. And now it's going to make us feel inspired. And I want you to write that story. And I want you to look at the story, the same story, over and over. I want you to look at that story and see how it helped you and how it inspired you and how it maybe helped you to grow a little bit, how it created strength within you or helped you to see things in a different and a much more positive way. So we have the sad chair, we have the happy chair, and we have the inspirational chair. And you just tell the story in your own words. You don't have to be a great writer. Nobody's looking for, well, actually, it's not quite true because I'm always looking for, when I read a book, I can't help myself. I'm always looking for the grammar and the detail and all the rest of it. But in this particular case, you do not have to be a writer. You do not have to be great at writing. All you have to do is just to be able to tell your story, and in 3 different ways, if you can, and that would be great for everybody. And the 3 winners will get an opportunity to ask me, to talk to me personally on a personal one-on-one level, either through Skype or FaceTime or whatever we can organize here. And you get a chance to ask me just one important question, which I will endeavor to answer for you with the help of my spirit guide, Grey Eagle, as always. So in order to enter the competition, you must subscribe. Okay, so you have to click on, I think it's on the right-hand side somewhere on your screen. There's a little button or a little thing that says subscribe. You click on it. It doesn't cost you any money at all, nothing at all. It just means you're able to participate in all the other things that we do on YouTube, or that we're going to be doing on YouTube in the future. So just subscribe, click on subscribe, and that will enable you to join in this competition and hopefully win a little chat with me. All right, so that's it so far with that. Christina, do we have any questions, or do we have anybody listening in, or maybe we don't have anybody?
We do. We have lots of good mornings. We have lots of
good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
We're happy that you are helping them.
Good. Good.
We did have 2 quick questions. One was about.
Well, let me just stop you there, because we need more than 2 quick questions. So come on, people.
Okay.
Don't just say good morning to us. We want the questions as well. You have to participate. Otherwise, I just will quit. All right. Sorry, go ahead. The first question.
The first one is, can you explain about orbs in photos?
Okay. Can you please let me know who is actually asking the question? Is it possible
Adrian.
Oh,
Adrian,
okay. Good morning, Adrian.
And she wants to know about orbs in photos and ringing in your ears. What might that be?
Oh, okay. Whoa. Well, orbs. I know that people are fascinated by orbs, and I know that people see them. An orb, let me just clarify what most people consider to be an orb, is a circle of light or flashing light or what have you. When you see an orb on a photograph, it often comes in the form of a circle of sort of, you might see a blob of light somewhere on the photo, something like that. And a lot of people believe that when you see an orb on a photograph, or even if you see sort of lights, if you're in a place and you see lights flashing wherever it is you are, a lot of people believe that that's someone in the spirit world who is trying to say hello to you. It indicates some sort of a spirit. I hate that word, spirit, person in the spirit world, because I always look at them as people in the spirit. It indicates a person in the spirit world who is just, trying to let you know that they're there too. Now, I'm a very skeptical person, and you all should know that by now, because I always say that. And I've been shown photos with orbs. Oh, I have lost count of, I could say trillions of times. I've lost count of how many people have shown me this, and how many people have believed that it's someone in the spirit world who's trying to connect with them. I do believe that a lot of the time, it has to do with your camera. Bit of grit on the lens, a bit of splodge here or there, whatever. I do believe that a lot of the time that you should be critical. Don't be afraid to be critical, and, clean the camera. And don't just because you want it to be someone in the spirit world, don't just think, oh, well, then it is then. Don't don't fool yourself. Don't be afraid to be skeptical. But I also do believe that there are times when someone in the spirit world, their energy is so sharp and so bright, and they're so keen to let you know for whatever reason that they are there, that I do think that they can show up in this way. So when I see orbs on photographs, I immediately go the skeptical route, because that's who I am. And I don't, a lot of people claim to be mediums or psychics, whatever you call yourself. And a lot of people truly believe it, but they're fooling themselves. So, or there are people, as we know, who are just trying to fool you. I try my very best. The last thing I want is to fool anybody else. But the very, very last thing I want is to fool myself. I want to know for my own self if what I'm doing is right and if it's real and so on. So I come at things very skeptically. So if you have an orb or something on a photograph, check the camera first. Check that because there are so many reasons for why it is there that aren't necessarily of a spiritual nature. So I always go that route first. But then there are, and I have seen them myself, and I know, because sometimes Grey Eagle tells me, yes, that is someone, that is Aunt so-and-so or Uncle Ted or somebody trying to let you know. But I know that it can happen, which is, that's the most important thing. Just be skeptical when you see it, and check and double check, and don't be afraid to be skeptical. And don't be afraid if you come up with the answer, oh, that was my thumb on the camera, that was a bit of grit, or that was a light flashing in the background somewhere there from somebody else's camera, from somebody else's flash. Don't be afraid to be skeptical, because that way you do get to the truth. Ringing in the ears sounds like tinnitus to me, or tinnitus, or however you want to pronounce it. But I do also believe that sometimes when we are becoming more in tune and we're raising our level of consciousness to a certain point, to a certain level, I do believe that sometimes, our sensitive, we're enhancing our sensitivity, we're enhancing our 5 senses. And sometimes we can have that experience when we're first striving to enhance our hearing and our sight and so on. So that's the answer to that one, Christina. Yes, let's have another one, shall we?
Okay, sure. This is a screen name. I'm hoping it's saying it right.
Valvacious, good morning.
Yes. He wanted to know how you address when people say mediums are demonic.
Well, I don't really bother with it. Who cares what people like that think and feel? I mean, people like to quote in the Bible, it says in the Old Testament that people like me should be stoned to death, or whatever it is they say, we should, we're not of God and so on. But here's the thing about the Bible, and whichever Bible it is that you read, and whichever religious faith or creed you follow, here's the thing. It's very contradictory. In other parts of the Bible, it clearly states you should listen to the voices, you should listen to those in the spirit world. So I think that there are people there who are not of God, who do this stuff, and they're only wanting to create negativity, or even in some cases evil. But there are more of us, I think, most of us who are out there, and we do believe, and we come from a good place, we come with a good heart. And many years ago, it reminds me, many years ago in England, I was going to a particular town, and we'd hired the theatre. We had thousands of people come for an event, and those people who were against us, because there are always people against anybody who does anything at all that's different or unusual, and there were lots of people against us, and the papers started setting up, all sorts of stuff about, the fact that maybe I shouldn't be allowed to be there, or shouldn't be allowed to go and give my talk or whatever. But obviously there were thousands of people who wanted to go who felt differently, because people had bought tickets. And so in the end, the newspaper, this particular newspaper, asked the bishop of the county what he thought, and I've always remembered it, and I will still quote it. He said, the bishop said, if it is evil, if it is of God, it will prosper, and if it is evil, it will wither and die away. Well, I can say it was probably 26, 27 years ago. I haven't withered away yet. I'm still here. I'm still doing my thing. So, and I so firmly believe in God and goodness and the light that, I think it can only do the one thing: it can prosper. But there are those out there, and there are evil entities out there. So it does pay for us to be, aware, and it does pay for us to be careful. So when you come to see somebody like me, before you even, get through the door, get on the phone, or however it is you're going to attach yourself to me, please do your checking. Of course you go on the web and you see these awful things about, she's a fake, she's this, that, and the other, but check carefully, because you'll see way more of the good stuff. Do your checking. And when you come to see somebody like me, please be skeptical. Please be skeptical, because not everything everybody says, or not everything I say is necessarily right. I am not infallible. Christina, is there? Are you still there? Do we have another question? Do we have another question, darling?
Yes, we have a tongue-in-cheek question from Dean Young.
Oh, good morning, Dean. How are you? We know Dean very well. Tongue-in-cheek, eh? All right then. Okay, go for it. You're going to be the devil's advocate, I believe. Right? Okay, let's go.
He wants to know what Great Eagle sits on.
What? Oh, that's so funny. Oh, very funny, very funny. I do remember, I think I might have told this story before. I do remember giving a lady a message once, many years ago. I was in a pub, actually, and we'd just come from some big event, my big event, and we were in the pub sort of taking spirits in a whole other way. We were imbibing, and she came up to me. She said, "Oh, you're that woman, are you?" I'm known as that woman throughout the world, I might tell you. You're that woman, are you, who, talks to dead people and what have you? And I just smiled, and she said, "Well, go on then." She said, "Go on, do me. And usually when somebody says that, my inclination is to not do them at all. I don't know. My inclination is to just, let it go. But there was her husband standing behind her, and he died of a massive heart attack a few months previously. So I did my thing, but I made the mistake of saying to her, "I can see your husband." I described him, and just as a sort of turn of phrase, I said, "He's sitting on your shoulder." And she said to me, she was sort of very down to earth country girl, been a landlady for a long time, and she said, "Well," she said, "that is my husband. That is his name, and he did die the way you said, but he's not a bloody parrot. In other words, he's not really sitting on my shoulder." And ever since then, I try to refrain from saying he's sitting on your shoulder. What I really meant to say was close by you. That gives you no indication, Dean Young, of what Craig is sitting on or how he's sitting, but he's laughing at you. So just for you, Dean, just for you, he's standing right next to me. But anyway, that's a funny question. Let's have our next question, shall we, Christina?
Sure. It's from Priscilla. I hope I'm saying that right.
Well, we have two choices. We say it right or we say it wrong. And we just hope that everybody loves us enough to allow us to just make our mistakes. And so good morning, Priscilla. Yeah.
Her question is that she's seeing tiny white feathers. They look very different, and they make her happy. And she wants to know if there are signs that people are visiting her.
Yes, I'm going to say yes, because we all of us have our power signs and our power symbols. And if you want to know more about that, you have to connect in with us once we start doing our classes on YouTube. But every one of us has a power symbol or a power animal. And they don't give us power, just so we're clear. A power animal or a power symbol does not give us power, but what it does is it reminds us of the power that we have. Now, my spirit guide, his name is Grey Eagle. Obviously, eagles are very important to me, and eagle feathers are more important to me. And an eagle feather is a power symbol, is my power symbol. And so whenever I'm in doubt or worrying, I can remember many years ago, I was on the Lisa Gibbons show, and I was sitting in the back room, and they put this, not a blindfold. They put something over your eyes, they put something over your ears so you can't hear, you can't see. And then they're, live on camera with their audience. And at some point they take all of this off you and they brought me through. And I was very concerned that morning while I was waiting, because I knew that there were a lot of people in the audience. I knew not because I was told, but I knew because Grey was talking to me about the amount of people in the audience who had lost their children. And it did turn out that the show was about parents and siblings who had lost their kids. You can actually, by the way, see that show on YouTube. Go to Lisa Gibbons, Rosemary Altea, and you'll see that show on YouTube. I did many shows with her. But I'm sitting there because it was so important to me that I should do this right, because I think that the greatest loss that we can all suffer is the loss of a child. That's my own personal opinion. So I wanted to do the best I could. So, of course, I was nervous, and I wanted to make sure that I was on top of my game, so to speak. And at some point, I lifted my head up and I saw in front of me this most enormous giant eagle feather. Again, it does not give you power. Your power signs, your power animals, they do not give you power, but they remind you of the power that you have within you. And, feathers of any description are great. Procida, I think it is. And so go for it, darling. And they should make you really, really, really happy. I'll tell you one other teeny story about feathers is that I can remember having a consultation with a young man. We were on the phone together, and he was sitting in his office, and he was looking out of the window talking to me, and I was talking to him about power signs and symbols and so on and so forth. And his father came through very powerfully to talk to him, and he said to me, well, how will I know, without you there, how will I know that my father's there? And I said, well, I think what he's going to do is he's going to show you a feather. You look for feathers. And at that moment, he's sitting like, I don't know, 5 or 6 stories high in his office in a big picture window. And he gasped and he started crying. And he described it to me. It was like a whole bucket full of feathers just came out of the sky and just came down the window in front of him. And it was just the most amazing thing for him. He could never figure out where those feathers came from. We laughed because I think I might know. Maybe his father dropped a bucket of feathers, just letting him know I'm around. Let's have our next question, can we?
Sure, from Joe Wood.
Good morning, Joe. You don't need the second names, Christina. Okay. I'll just take the first name because they know who they are. So good morning, Joe.
Good morning, Joe. So she had a question about what happens immediately after someone passes away, about their soul.
Well, my experience is that, as soon as when we talk about someone passing away, that basically means that some people call it the silver cord, some people call it the silver thread, whatever it is you call it. It's a little bit like the umbilical cord of a baby, but it's a very, very fine thread, or silver, really. I've seen it actually. So my view of it is I can describe it to you. It's like this very silver thread. And it's amazing because unlike, the umbilical cord of a baby, this thing can stretch and it can go for miles and miles and miles, and it can take us out into the universe. It can take us anywhere, which is why sometimes we're able to astral travel. And sometimes we're able to, you know, go visiting other people. I go very often in my sleep state. I will leave my body and I will go out and I will travel all over the world to visit with my patients. And very often my patients will be aware that I'm there with them. But that, let's say, the umbilical cord or that silver thread or that silver cord that attaches our soul to our physical body, that can stretch, and as long as it doesn't break, I'm fine. I can come right back into my body. At the point of our leaving our body, and I'm going to use the term dying, you all know that I don't believe in the word death, but because I don't think we die, but when we leave our physical body for the very last time, that silver thread, that silver cord, that spiritual cord that attaches the soul to the physical body, it will break, it snaps, it breaks, which means that we're gone. We cannot come back because there's nothing to attach us to that physical body anymore. At that moment, when the cord breaks, or in fact, even before the cord breaks, and knowing that we're at the end of our life here on this earth, our angels will be there for us. There will always be someone there for us to carry us to that place of light, to that place of God. You know, there will always be someone from the spirit world. And when I say angels, I do mean angels, but I also know that, you know, we go through this little bit like a tunnel. And I can remember a patient of mine many years ago asked me to describe the universe. And I'm thinking, I don't know how to do that. But Greg laughed at me and he said, you know, it's quite simple, really. The universe is like a big cheese. And, you know, those holy cheeses that they put hot wires through, and some holes cross and some go this way and some cross over, some go up there, some go down that way, and so on. Greg will describe the universe. It's the best description I've ever heard, actually, describe the universe like holes in a cheese. And so there are many passageways, there are many tunnels, there are many places which take you to many different places. So when that umbilical cord, the spiritual cord, is broken, then we travel through, we call it a tunnel. We travel through that tunnel. And at the front of the tunnel, the beginning of the tunnel, is where our loved ones in the spirit world will often be waiting for us. Sometimes they're able to reach through the tunnel and to take our hands and to guide us through and to pull us through. Sometimes they yank us through there because they're so eager to see us. And they, with the help of our angels, will carry us to that place of light. So I hope that helps you. There's always someone, in my experience, there's always someone there who will be waiting for us in the tunnel, waiting to take us to that safe place. So I hope that helps you. How are we doing, Christina? Shall we have another question?
Sure. This person, I believe it's initials, NAH.
NAH. Good morning. It's so weird, isn't it, Christina? Are you finding it odd that we can't say good morning, Harry, good morning, Joe, good morning, whoever? It is a bit odd, and people do have, you know, and sometimes people do write in and let us know what their name is, because I'm a sort of a person who likes a personal touch. But anyway, it sounds, NAH sounds like the National Health something or another to me.
Yeah, yes.
All right.
So, and I didn't want to say nah. So they would like your thoughts on eating animals from a spiritual perspective.
Oh golly, I hate this. I hate this subject because I know there are many of you out there who think it's barbaric and that you shouldn't eat flesh of any kind. And I have to tell you that my doctor doesn't think I should eat flesh either, for health reasons much more than anything else, because I have all sorts of kidney issues. So I remember him saying to me, no meat. And I remember saying, well, don't worry, because I only eat fish. That was a long time ago now. I only eat fish. He said, what do you think fish is? It's flesh. no flesh, he said. Let's be clear, no flesh. So sometimes for health reasons, for our own sake and for our own health, it's wise not to eat flesh. From a spiritual perspective, man has been hunting since man began, since the earth began, since we were here, man has hunted and has eaten meat. I try not to eat meat too often, but I take my lamb with me to New York. I always take at least 2 or 3 racks of lamb with me to New York because it's my daughter's favorite. I slather it with my homemade pesto and breadcrumbs and roast it in the oven. And I left some there. And last night, my daughter called me and she said, guess what you forgot to take to the airport with you? And she's waving 2 of those big, juicy chops, lamb chops. And she told me how delicious they were. And she made me watch her while she ate them. And I can't help it. I salivate when I see lamb. What can I tell you? It is your preference. I've never heard anyone in the spirit world actually say to me, you should not eat that for spiritual reasons, or how could you eat that, being, an animal. But there are many animals that are bred for food. I think it's your own preference. As far as the spirit world is concerned, I'm asking Grey Eagle because I want to be truthful here. And I want no matter my feelings on the subject, I want to ask Grey Eagle. And he tells me to just do what you're doing, whoever you are and wherever you are, just do what you're doing because the consequence of your actions are your own. So if you're eating and it's going to make you something and it's going to make you sick, of course you shouldn't eat it, but people still do anyway. I'm asking him from a spiritual perspective, and from a spiritual perspective, he waves his hands. It's not important. That's my perspective. That's his perspective. That's all we can say about that. Let's move on. Do we have another fun question, Christina?
We do, and we have my dog barking.
Oh, nice, lovely. But well, you might actually. No, I was thinking that Cachorro might actually perk his head up, but he's just laid flat out, totally out of it here. So what kind of dog do you have, Christina? What sort of a dog do you have there?
I have a little chocolate brown Cocker Spaniel named after Chewbacca from Star Wars.
Oh, how cute. I love Cockers. I love Cocker Spaniels. They are my favorite. And of course, for those of you who don't know Christina, most of you don't because this is your first time, Christina, do you want to tell us a little bit about you before we go to the next question?
Sure. I don't know if it's exciting, but I can.
Go ahead.
So I am Al's brother, who's currently very popular with this group. And
You're Al's sister is what you meant. He's your brother.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. Sorry, I'm trying to keep the dog quiet while talking.
That's okay. You don't need to worry about the dog because most of us here are dog lovers. So okay.
Good. So I am well, I guess the biggest thing about me is I am a 2-time cancer survivor, and I am trying to think what's the exciting stuff. I'm a wellness coach, and I am very into spirituality. We lost our dad.
Go ahead.
We lost our dad a couple of years, a little over a year ago now. It's been a life changer for us, and Rosemary has been amazing and helping us through the process.
And you just moved to Colorado.
And I just moved to Colorado.
You chased your brother to Colorado, right?
We did. Yes. My husband was ready to roll as soon as Albert was ready to roll. So yes, and we love it. Honestly, probably the best thing I did. So relaxing out here. It's a good lifestyle. I know,
and every time you call, you see, it's almost as if, okay, I'm off hiking now, and it's so frustrating. Especially when I was in New York and it was freezing cold, it's so frustrating to see somebody say, I'm wearing my shorts, I'm just off hiking now. You say, okay, fine.
And it's very good for my type A personality too. So.
Good. All right, thank you for that. Let's have our next question.
So there's 2 questions related to spirit guides. So would you like me to kind of ask them together since they're related with both names?
Yes, sure. Go ahead. You do what you want. Do what you're in charge today.
Oh, awesome. All right. So it's Sharon and Lisa. Both had questions related to spirit guides in terms of figuring out who the person is that's their spirit guide and interpreting the symbols from them.
All right. Well, first, good morning, Sharon. Good morning, Lisa.
Yep.
All right. Spirit guides. We've talked about this so often before. And if you need to know more about that, I suggest you sort of go back on some of the shows that we've already done, because, you know, this is a question it's a very common question. I know everybody wants a spirit guide. I know, you know, everybody loves the idea of a spirit guide, but let me just be clear. A spirit guide is a highly evolved spiritual entity, and a spirit guide will only appear in your life if, like myself, you work full time on spiritual things. It's a little bit like expecting, you know, the head of cardiology department in New York, for instance, or Sloan Kettering or somewhere like that, to walk around with you who are a first-year nurse. It's not going to happen, is it? They have far much more to do. They're far wiser. They're needed. Their attentions are needed in much more important areas. And, you know, it's not that as a first-year nurse you're insignificant. It's just that you're not going to get the top surgeon in, you know, in Sloan Kettering, for instance, spending time with you 24/7. It's just not going to happen. And so in the same way, a spirit guide is a bit like the top surgeon at Sloan Kettering, and actually probably more so. So not wanting to upset Regal here, and he's laughing at me. We both know I'm not going to upset him, but you can't expect a highly evolved spiritual entity who is there for reasons of imparting knowledge that is important, and that, you know, that if you're first year nurse, you're not going to understand it anyway. You're not going to understand any of it anyway, because it's just going to be intellectual jargon that you won't know what to do with it either. Even if it's imparted to you, what you're going to do with it anyway. So so spirit guides, our loved ones, our family in the spirit world, are our guides, our helpers. Aside from our angels, angels are messengers of God. They are not there for our pleasure. They do the will of God. If God requires an angel to come to us for whatever reason, they will come to us. But if we want the angel to come to us with no instruction from God, it will not happen, because angels are messengers for and from God alone. So that's, make that clear. A spirit guide, a highly evolved spiritual entity, you can make it up if you like. Yeah, have one if you want. It's not going to really happen. In reality, use your common sense. In reality, are you a person who works full-time for the spirit world? And if you are, the likelihood of you having a spirit guide is very, very strong. But if you do not, if you just are, you know, interested, but you don't work at it, and you're not, as I am, my life full-time, it's a full-time job for me in the spiritual life. If that's your work and that's what you do, the likelihood of you having a spirit guide is, you know, it's quite high. If you do not, it won't happen. But you will have your family, your loved ones, and very, very often you will have someone in the spirit world who might have been a great grandmother, or even a great great grandmother, who you don't even know, but they've seen you, they've watched you being born, they knew you prior to your birth, and they take an interest in you, and they will guide you and steer you and help you. So, you know, so check back on all the other videos if you like. And what signs and symbols? Well, if you are truly in touch with your spirit guide, and you're listening carefully, and if it truly is your spirit guide, you really do have one, you'll know what those signs and symbols mean. You'll just know what they mean, because that's how it works. So I know I'm disappointing some people, and I know some people who are saying, oh, well, I don't believe that because I've had 2 spirit guides or 5 spirit guides forever and ever and ever. It's your choice to believe whatever it is you want. And remember, I'm not infallible, so I don't know everything. So, but I would advise any one of you out there who wants to participate in working spiritually to, be skeptical, for goodness sake, and please apply common sense. It doesn't make any sense for a top surgeon to be mucking about all day, every day with a first-year nurse. It's not going to happen. And that's the same, that's the same analogy that I would use for spirit guides. If you're a first year or second year or even a 5th year, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Use your common sense. And investigate your loved ones, investigate your family, because that's where you will find those who will give you time and will walk with you and will try to guide you and steer you in the best way that they can. Do you want to comment on that, Christina? Do you have any?
Yeah, I actually, from the science perspective,
yeah,
when my dad, before we knew he had advanced pancreatic cancer with very few symptoms before, and we thought it was complications from having diabetes that he never had treated. And I remember they were going to the emergency room because he was just sick for like 3 weeks straight. Antibiotics weren't working, and I wasn't allowed to go because of my cancer history. I have no spleen, so I can't be in hospitals unless I absolutely need to. And I walked into the car with my, I think everybody was taking it but me because they wouldn't let me go. And a big leaf blew into the car on the floor. And I'm not a person who collects anything. I'm so clutter-free, like everything. And I saw the leaf, and I was like, you know what? This is going to be a sign that Daddy's going to be okay. And I took it, and I saved it. And at that point, I thought okay was he's going to be fine. Not knowing okay was that he was going to be okay in this whole other realm. Within 42 days that he just passed away. And ever since then, and I think I get so put up in my head that I'm not one that is, I just don't give myself a calmness to see signs. But from that point on, like, leaves have just shown up everywhere and random places, like things like, I was sitting on my deck on Long Island before we moved, and I got up to do something. I turned around, there's a leaf stuck in the deck, standing up where I was sitting, like just random. And then it was pouring rain one day, and a dry leaf just comes down right in front of me, like completely dry.
Nice.
So all these things that I know, and again, I was never attached to leaves and things like that, but ever since I took that leaf, still to this day, things like that happen, and I pay attention to it. I'm very careful.
And I think that's what you're trying to say to people is, pay attention to what comes to you. Pay attention.
Yeah, because you do know.
Yeah.
You don't question it when it feels like this is really him.
You something inside of you, your soul speaks to you, and okay, this is it then. I'm taking this one. Yeah. Shall we have a next question? Thank you for that.
Oh, no problem. Thank you. So Rubidia, yes. Rubidia. She actually said a statement first. She finished The Eagle and the Rose last night, and she's almost done with Soul Spine.
Oh, wow.
She said, thank you for sharing your stories.
Okay, well, thank you for reading them.
Yeah. And then her question was, what are your thoughts on the law of attraction?
Wow, that's a great question. And seeing as you're halfway or a good way through soul signs, that's a very good question. I think, everything is energy. Everything is about energy. And so, the laws of attraction it's all energy. Everything is about energy. I think there are certain people in our lives that we are meant to meet, that we are meant to have a relationship of some kind with. That relationship can last a minute, or it can last 50 years. But there are certain people that we are meant to meet, and that person that we are meant to meet, they will feed us in some small way, and we will feed them in some small way. And when I say feed, you understand that I'm talking in a spiritual sense. There will be something that will happen that will teach us something. And it can be, again, I've said, a flash, a minute. Somebody might smile at us and it touches our hearts in a way. And it might be that in that one moment of time, we desperately needed that one special smile from that one person. So it feeds us, it feeds our soul. Or it could be that they need something from us. And again, so it's sort of the law of attraction is that energy, like energy, attracts like energy. For instance, if you're reading soul signs, I'm an earth sign. I'm a very, very strong, tough earth sign. I'm a warrior soul. That doesn't mean that I don't have a soft center. I do, but I'm very strong. I'm an earth sign. And, I gravitate automatically to those energies, those people, those types of energies who are compatible with me. So I'm very compatible with other earth signs. And I'm also very, very compatible with water signs. So again, the laws of attraction. I'm compatible with, I am drawn to, they are drawn to me. But again, I remember I did have an amazing experience many years ago, being drawn or pulled towards an evil entity, and an evil energy that was so strong and so powerful. And I knew that where this was coming from, this person that it was coming from, was just wanting to pull me to them, to control me in some way. And I had to fight very hard to turn my back on that. And it was a struggle to turn my back on it, but I felt it very strongly. So, sometimes attraction is a good thing. Sometimes it's not a good thing, but we always have to, when those attractions are present within us or present external to us, we do have to, we are in charge of our own self, our own soul. We can choose either to be drawn in or to turn away from that. Sometimes it's a struggle to have to turn away, but we do have to turn away, or be swallowed up in all of that negativity. And many of us do get swallowed up in that negativity. So I hope you understand what it is I'm saying to you, my darling. And I don't know if it helps. I hope it helps. Anyway, Christina, I know that time's ticking for you. Are you okay for another question, or do you have to leave us now?
I can do one more question, and then I probably will have to jump off in the middle of it.
Okay.
I'll give you that question, okay?
Okay, that's great. Thank you. And thank you, darling. Thank you for stepping in for Al. We do appreciate it. So, all right, let's have that question, shall we?
Sure. It's from Christian, and it was a question about developing mediumship and how to practice.
Well, good morning, Christian. And Kristen or Christian, I'm not sure which it is. Christian. So good morning, Christian. Developing mediumship is not easy. I know a lot of people want to do it. A lot of people want to get involved. The first thing you have to do, and this is not easy, the first thing you have to do is you have to find a good teacher. You have to be very, very critical of that teacher, as well as critical of your own self. You have to apply heavy, heavy doses of skepticism when you're going through this, when you are, working this out. But if you have a teacher who doesn't know what they're doing, and unfortunately for all of us, so many teachers, it's like the blind leading the blind in this arena. If you want to know more about that and you're interested, sort of keep checking in with us, because we are doing courses. We are, doing courses on YouTube, and we'll let you know more about that. I've talked about that before. And, at least we can help you and guide you in the right way to find perhaps someone who can help you with that. My own experience is that a natural born medium is far better than, far more accurate and far more knowledgeable than someone who is, striving to learn from the beginning. I know that it's very popular to go into most spiritual churches, or they have what they call circles where you can go and sit and you can learn more. I know that many, and I'm going to use the term medium now very loosely. I know that in many churches or many places where people like me give messages, people like to say, oh, well, I can see you've got an Indian with you, or you've got some spirit guide or some sort or another with you, this, that, and the other. And it's just something that they make up in their head. And again, it's the blind leading the blind. So when just remember, you've got to be so skeptical about all of this. Apply skepticism, good, healthy dose of skepticism as you're going along. Otherwise, you're going to end up being fooled, and then you're going to end up being frustrated because everything you try is not going to work. All right, well, our time is nearly up. I'm going to talk again about the competition. We have the competition. I think it's no more than 500 or 600 words for the story. If you missed what it's all about, you need to just check, please. At the beginning of this show, I talked about it. If you need to know more about it, email us, rosemary@rosemaryaltea.com. When you send in your entries, you need to send your stuff. Email, please, rosemary@rosemaryaltea.com. We have quite a few that we're sorting through. The entry date ends, I think it's March 22nd. I'm hoping that's right, and pretty sure that it is. So you've got a whole month now. You've got a whole month to sort of write it out. Remember, you do not have to be, you don't have to be a fabulous writer to do it. Just, to put your heart on a piece of paper for us. I'll treat it very gently, I promise you. And there will be 3 winners, and those winners will get at least a 15-20 minute session with me. That is the prize, to ask one really, really important or heartfelt question, whatever it is you want to ask me. And we'll do this one-on-one, either with Skype or with FaceTime. So, that's, I'm hoping that entices you. In order to be a part of this, you need to subscribe. So don't forget to subscribe. I'm getting a little message from Christine. I think she's left. She's left us. So that's okay. All right. So if you need to know more, you will find me on Facebook. You will find me on Twitter. I know Instagram. You'll find me, goodness knows where, Facebook. You'll find me, if you want healing, please let us know. There is, if you go to my Facebook page, you'll find there's a page specifically for healing, where if you want to join with us and send healing to other people, you can join with us there. Or if you know someone who wants healing, or if you yourself wants healing, put your name down. You don't have to put all the detail. All we need is your first name and, whatever the issue is with you, whatever the problem is, that works for us. If you want to tell us more, that's also fine. But you can, limit, if you want, just limit what you have to tell us, and it works great for us. So email rosemary@rosemaryaltea.com. I'm so excited we managed to do this. I'm getting a little bit more tech as we speak. And until we meet again, until next week, check us out on all of those things. We do Twitter, we do all of those things. I'm no good at any of this myself personally, but I do try my best. Bear with me. I'm not the most technical. I'm going to switch off now. I'm looking to see where that little arrow is. And until we meet again, until I see you next time, please, 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 all of you, have a very, very, very blessed day.